Hello, how's everybody doing? Hope you're all having a wonderful day. I figured something out that took me a while to figure out. It's related to making your own particles that are not in the game, that are not assigned to, say, rubber meets lava, um, or rubber meets snow. There's a lot of different things that all the materials they all touch another material, they make a particle. Now, where that's normally at is in the game install folder, which this is the game install folder I got a link to, and this here is the user folder I have a link to, and this is just all of my reference stuff that I just don't want to go digging for again. But to understand this a little better, let's go to the install folder, let's go to the Lua folder, and let's go to the common folder, and in here you'll see uh, particles.json. Probably feels awfully lonely in there. It's the only JSON file in there. It's all Lua files. But anyway, open it up, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see all the materials, like rubber meets asphalt. If the slip velocity is greater than 18%, create a particle 0.1 meters in square size with a velocity multiplier of 1. How many times it's going to create it, and it's going to create particle number 6, for example. Now with asphalt, rubber meets asphalt, there's actually 2. There's 6 and 22. And if we open the particles list that I compiled, so you don't have to go hunting for everything, makes it easy to look up the stuff. 6 is BNG Smoke White, and 22 is Splinter. Now I made some other ones, so you can see like how I got them all numbered out. But let's get to that in a minute. Let's talk about what rubber meets. So the original question was about rubber, metal, plastic, glass meeting snow. See, originally the question was, can I just substitute the sand for snow? Yeah, you can do that. But if you're going to do that, then you might as well go ahead and just make a new one for the snow, so that when the body of the car, when you wreck, it'll touch the snow. Any plastic parts touch the snow, the rubber or glass. I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's any wood in the car. So we'll just copy this here. We'll just copy this this entire thing. But before we do anything, I don't want to edit the one that's in the game. The one that's already in the install folder. Doing it this way, you don't have to modify that one, and you can pack it as a zip file. Pack it as a mod, rather. So what we'll do is move it out of here, copy it out of here, and put it in this new folder 4. That way we can close the install folder. So what we'll do is we'll just say, well, we could just use all these, or this will work. So we'll copy these, and we'll go down, and you can put a little slash and say and then paste, and then change all these to snow. Now these have to be there's only so many collision materials. For a complete list of those and what all they are at the moment. Oh, got stuff wrote down everywhere. That ain't it. I got a lot of stuff in here. All right, here we are. These are node materials. You see they're all capital letters. These are all the ones that you can use in here currently. Now they're not going to create a particle because you tell metal to hit foliage, but you're on the right track. So I'll copy this and paste this so you got this also. So you know the game's not using any of these: fire, medium, large, smoke, black. So pretty much any of those. If you want to just make those something, like say you're making lava, for example, and it's not in here, you could just use one of these as and make it lava. But we're using snow that's already in here, and so we'll just put snow with the caps, of course. Now, this particular thing here, I made some new particles and updated, like I shared it a while back, but it required you having to edit the install folder location. This way you won't have to do it. So if you share a level with your unique particles, it'll all have it. Now the slip velocity means like, well, I guess how much it slips. The more the number is, the more slippage needs to happen before it creates the particle. Now you can keep all these the same as they are with snow, or if you really want to exaggerate, like it make it a lot of particles as often as it can, you can change all this to like 1.0. You know, if you really wanted to. But I found doing that makes it unrealistic. You know, what they decided like works good with this stuff works pretty good. Now the area square meter width, we'll just put 0.1 for all of them. This is, you can think of this like an area effect, like you cast a fire wall spell and it's like however square meters, 2 meters square size, or you know how big the blast is. You can think of it like that, I guess. Now the next number is additional velocity. So if you want the particle to be able to use inherited velocity in the particle editor, it needs to be more than 1. From what I can tell, it needs to be more than 1 if you want it to be able to sling it. If it's 0, it won't sling anywhere. 1 I think is default, so let's leave all this at 1. The next is how many times the particle will repeat. It's not always good to have this like 5 of the same particle at one time. Like with smoke, certain alpha effects, when you get a bunch on top of one another, they start to flicker. So I would just, for the time being and for performance reasons, just leave all this to like 1. Make all these 1. Now the particle number, we haven't created that yet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to another folder. So in .30 update, they moved this file. It used to be in the game engine.zip, but now it's in a different place. So if you go to BeamNG drive shortcut, and you go to the content, the art shapes zip file is where the art shapes particles now resides. Now what this contains are all the textures for the different particles. You can put new ones in there. You can make new pictures. You don't have to use and recycle the ones that are in here. But what you have to edit are these 2 files here. And once again, we're not going to edit anything in the install folder. What we'll do instead is we'll copy this and edit it somewhere else. So far I've talked about 2 different things. I talked about the particles that create new particles, and then I talked about the actual particle emitter and the particle to some extent. Now, assuming you're wanting to do this, you already know how to pack a mod. This was something I was kind of new to. So this is what I got yesterday, figured out to be able to use these files in a packed mod. So you got your mod here, which contains your level. You need to make a folder called Lua, and in that folder put a folder called Common, and in that folder is where this particles.json will go. That's going to create the new particles for you, right? Now we're not done with this. We still got to make the particles, so we're going to not save it yet. We're going to back to the zip, and then you'll need an art folder in there. Now the art folder will have an art shapes particles folder. It's the same particles folder that we just got out of, out of the zip file here. Just pasted here. So what that means is anything in here that is changed will use from here before it will default back to here. There was some thought at one time that you could have this in your level. Like you could have it in your level, whatever your level name is, in art, shapes, particles. But the problem is don't matter if you save it here to something else. When you save that particle in the particle editor, it's going to automatically, in the user folder here, it's going to create an art folder, and it's going to create an art shapes particles folder, and those are the changes that are getting made. So if you want to pack the level with the changes, you got to remove them from here and put them into the zip file here. But since we already got the file zipped, I can just open these here, or I can edit these that are in here. Now I simplified these so that they're not full of stuff. They're very limited, and they don't have all the particles. So this is the same thing we just looked at. It's just unpacked. So we got to manage particle data for the emitter. Now these are the particles that you see here. The numbers 10, 11, 18, they correspond to the numbers here. So like for sand, normally it's particle 10 and 11. And I guess 8. I can see that one. So we're going to make a new one for snow. We'll just make it particle 110 and 111. I think the BNGP, I think the particle actually, I think they stop at like 85 normally. Nah, I'm not fooling with that one. So we need to make 110 and 111. We could just make them all 110 and then later on come back and make a new one. Let's just do that. That'd be a little easier to explain. It'll just mean that when rubber meets snow, it'll create it twice. Which, yeah, that would be the same thing as probably putting a 2 there and not having this line at all, basically. But one's got a different slip velocity than the other. And it's 2 different particles, that way it gives a better effect. It's like 2 different particles of happening at the same time. So it's a lot to wrap your head around, I know that. So when you make a new particle, you can just copy one that's in there. This is the emitter data. You got the emitter, and then you got the particle that the emitter emits. This is the particle that mud emits. If we look at the particle emitter I'm sorry. If we look at the managed particle data, this is the particle. It contains the color of the particle. Now don't let all this confuse you, because you can do all this in the editor, in the game editor. This is just to set it up so that it'll be there. You'll have a particle. So with the emitter here, like I said, you can copy this one and just paste it. Let me make sure. I got a lot of shit open. I want to make sure I'm got the right ones loaded. Alright, so we'll copy this one here and we'll paste it. And use the BNGP like they got it. Just do what it does. All you're doing is putting a new number. And then decide you're going to name your particle. We'll just, you know what? Let's just call it snow. If there's a persistence ID, just delete it. It'll be like this long code, a bunch of different stuff. Just delete it. I found that works. And then save it. And then go to the managed particle data. And so you don't misspell anything, you can always copy the name to your clipboard, so when you go to make the other one, or go to here to make the new particle, you won't misspell it. Alright, so we'll take the one for this mud one here and we'll reuse it. Now it's just like the textures. The very last thing is always a bracket and a bracket. But if you want to have another particle, it's just like the textures, where you just put a bracket and a comma. And then paste. Just so that at the end it's just bracket, bracket. So now I'll copy this, and that'll be the name. Go there and there. If there's a persistence ID, just remove it. Now the actual particle itself, there's already one in here for snow explosion, small.dds. You can make better ones if you want to, you know. But for the time being, we'll just use what's in here. So I'm going to rename this just to copy it to my clipboard. I misspell stuff all the time. Now since it is zipped up in your level, whether it was zipped or unzipped, since it's a unique place that you got this pointing to, you just put your level slash your name of your level, because normally this stuff just has art shapes, particles. I just want to make sure it looks for the stuff at the right place. So now the animated texture doesn't do nothing at this point in time. It doesn't, according to documentation, it doesn't even work. Every time you try to mess with it, it'll lock up the game. So it'd be nice if they added that, though. Crash Hard also asked about having a 4-cell animated particle where you could have 4 different pictures, similar to how the rain splash is, but not. They don't use the particles for that. They said they use something else, but that is how the old sprites, animated sprites, had 4 pictures. So that'd be cool if they got that implemented. Anyway, let's get this out of here now, and let's make sure we include these in our zip file, because we're pretty much set. We got everything in here. We just need to save each one of these and move them back into the zip files, because I moved them out. So particle 110. So Alright, so going back to particles.json, we got our number 110. Everything looks good. Car meets snow. All that looks fine. Everything gets saved. Now we just need to put it in the zip. It's probably easier explaining it like this zipped, because once it's here, it's all here together. You're not going to 20 different folders looking for everything. I mean, even though I am going to the desktop and back and forth to all these different spots, still got to move stuff. Mods, open up the zip. Alright, so the first one is the particles.json. That's going to go in the Lua common there. I'll overwrite that one with that one. Then the next one will be the manage particle data emitter and the manage particle data. That's going to go in your art shapes particles folder. So we'll overwrite with that. Make sure I got the right ones. Yep, that's got that in it. And that's got, yep. So these go to here. Now, since I did a slimmed down version of this where it's only got like 2 or 3 particles, then all the other particles don't work. I thought it'd be easier to try to explain this with less things in here than having this thing be 20 miles long with all the stuff in it. But you would want to have the complete list if you want all the particles in the game to work. So we should be able to load now. Now, just to make sure, I'll delete the temp folder. Make sure nothing's coming from there. And if we go to the levels in the user folder, you'll see there's nothing in here. So it's all solely loading off the out of the mod zip. Now we should have a new particle that once we load the level, we can go to the particle editor. There should be a particle 110 in there. But we'll know right away if it works when we spawn, if we see anything that looks like a snowflake. Because the ground model for this particular terrain paint is already set to snow, even though it's not a texture of snow. It's just one thing at a time. Alright, go in the world editor and pull up the particle editor, and we should have a particle number 100 and particle 18 is in there twice. Huh. Well, that's odd. And you see snow is in here. You know, that's probably some data block stuff. But then again, I did. Well, damn. I gotta figure this out now. They didn't create a new particle, apparently. Oh, look at that dumbass right there. Look what he did. Yes, I did this. That's what happened. Alright, we'll fix that. That was what it was. And what I'll do is I'll zip this level. Oh, it's already zipped. I'll give you a link to this level to have for your uh, to look over and stuff. See, there's our new particle of 110. Now, if you don't like that, I understand. I didn't spend a lot of time with it. I just kind of threw something together. But if you want to edit this stuff after the fact, change like a lot of these things, you can do that. It's not a problem. You can change all that stuff and actually change stuff related to the emitter and the ejection velocity. I mean, you could do all that. And what's going to happen when I hit the save, it's going to create, I'll show you where it's going to put it so you'll know where to go hunting for it. In the user folder, it's going to create an art folder separate from everything else. Even though it says it saved it to here, here, and here, and here, you see it just created it. So the changes that just contained, we see I changed the lifetime to 2000 and I changed a few things in here. But now if you want to get that to work in your level, you're going to have to add it to the zip after the fact. So like you'd copy it to the clipboard, and then in your zip of your mod, you have to go back in the art, shapes, particles, and overwrite that one with the new one. Now I'll close the game so we can make sure it does like it should. Some things you can like Control L and reload the Lua and update some things. One thing that will not do that though with the game running, I know from messing with it, is you can't add new particles to the particles.json, the one that's got the the one that's got all these in it. If you add or change anything in here, this does require a reload from what I can tell. I don't remember, did I put it in there or not? Yeah. Alright, let's reload. Let us reload and let us see. This is really something that's really I'm happy about figuring out. It's always better if you can share something in the way the game is supposed to be shared as mods without having to affect any other game files. Yeah, see, now they wasn't doing that a minute ago. So yeah, that's how you would do that. Let's check and see. Let's go over here and let's see if other parts of the car create other, like if we turn it upside down. If we turn it upside down, should be other parts of the car create particles too, like this metal, if the slip velocity is enough. Yeah, see? So we got metal touching snow. We got a particle there.